Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott, and you, boys and girls, you are in the Prog Corner, where today on the channel, we're going to be doing something really exciting. We're going to be going over the 25 most underrated prog rock bands of all time. Now, how did we derive at this dubious list? Well, there's two things we got to keep in mind here. We're going to be talking about where the public perception of a band is and what my perception of a band is. And we're going to be measuring the difference between the two. So I can be wrong on either count where I feel a band is in terms of their esteem level in the prog rock community as a whole, and then my personal opinion about where I think they should be. So, these are very, very objective things here that we're talking about here, but I'm going to do it as scientifically as possible. So you're not going to be seeing anybody from the big six here. Yes, Genesis, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull, King Crimson. They are not underrated by any estimation, nor is Kansas or Rush or some of the other bigger names on here. But what we are trying to measure is where a band should be ranked and where they kind of are ranked. And without any further ado, at number 25, I'm going to Wales with the great man. This is a band that was formed in 1968 from the ashes of a other band called the Bystanders. They put out some really, really great records. Do you like it here now? Are you settling in? Be good to yourself at least once a day. Back into the Future. Those are really great records. I like them a lot. At number 24, Starcastle gets no love, but I think they are completely underrated because people just kind of put them in that yes clone basket and they don't give them their due. Starcastle was actually a great band. Their first 3 albums are just incredible. I love them a lot. They deserve to get a lot more recognition than they do. At number 23, I'm going with Audience. Yeah, this is Howard Worth's band. He was a guy that was actually in line to replace Jim Morrison in The Doors. They put out some really cool records, not least of which their first 3 albums, really, really good. Friend of a Friend of a Friend, The House on a Hill, and Lunch. All 3 of those are really, really great. At number 22, we're going with Roger Chapman's band Family, formed in 1966, and they had some early success. His voice is really one of the pioneering sounds in prog rock. You hear all kinds of Peter Gabriel in his voice. Then you're thinking, okay, I see where the genesis of that kind of singing came from. Some really great records. Music from a Doll's House was their debut. The Beatles had to change the name of the White Album because of it. They also put out Family Entertainment. That was really great. Bandstand was a good record. Just a cool band that you need to know. Yeah. Number 21, we're going to Germany with Birth Control. These guys were kind of a wacky, hard prog band, but they had some really great records with some really questionable album covers. Hoodoo Man, Rebirth, Operation, and my favorite, Plastic People. Really, really great band. Love them a lot. At number 20, we're talking about the neo-prog band Magenta. This came after Rob Reed had been doing some stuff at Cyan, and then he heard Christina Booth's voice, so he wanted to incorporate her into his band. So they changed the name from One Color to Another Color, going from Cyan to Magenta, and they have released some really, really terrific albums that don't get nearly enough attention. Revelations, 7, The 27 Club, Metamorphosis, just phenomenal string of records that I really love. Chameleon, Home, just really, really great. Rob Reed and Christina Booth are joined by Chris Fry, Dan Nelson, and Jippy Krippitz in this version of Magenta, and I love them. At number 19, I think I got the album cover behind me. It's England, and their one and only album from the 70s, Garden Shed, is why they're here. They put out an EP before that called Imperial Hotel, which the Samurai of Prague have covered, and they've done a couple things recently, and some new reincarnations of the band. But this is Robert Webb's thing. He's the keyboard player. He's the leader of the band, and Garden Shed was one of the great final testaments to prog rock in the 70s. One of the great unknown gems of the genre, just incredible. I love England, and I love that snare drum sound on Garden Shed, just so incredible. At number 18, we're going to Germany and Anyone's Daughter. Yeah, Germany, we always talk about, the krautrock bands, the Cans and the Faust, the Amandul 2s, and all those people, but there was an Asian prog scene going on too with bands like Alloy and Novalis, two bands that almost made this list, but I think they get a little bit more recognition these days than Anyone's Daughter. What a great band. They were a little bit late to the game. They formed in 1972 in Stuttgart, but they didn't put out their first album until 1979, the incredible debut Adonis. But their first four albums are all really good. Adonis in 79, the self-titled album in 1980, Pictor Verwandlungen in 81, and possibly my favorite album from them, 1982's In Blue. Just great. What a great way to start a career with four incredible albums. That's why they're on this list. At number 17, it's Mexico's greatest prog band, Cast. This is a band started in 1978 by Alfonso Videles. He is still in the band. The drummer's still with him. He's had a couple members that have been with him for a little while, but they've got 20 albums out. 20. Think about that. 20 albums out. And I bet a lot of people listening to the sound of my voice have never even heard one of them. We need to fix that. Cast is an incredible band. Their last album, Vigesimus, was one of the best albums of 2020. Just a great, great band. I'm really looking forward to seeing what album number 21 from them guys brings, because their last album really did get them a little more notoriety than they had gotten in the past, or else they would have been a little higher on this list. At number 16, we're going to the Netherlands and the great instrumental prog band Finch. Oh, yeah, Finch is amazing. They put out three incredible instrumental albums in the 70s that get very little attention these days. 1975's Glory of the Inner Forest, really, really good. Probably the best of the three. The following year, Beyond Expression, and 1977's Galleon of Passion. All three of them just great, great examples of instrumental prog in that classic 70s style. Really, really great. At number 15, we're going to Japan and Yuka and Chronoship. This band has four albums out. All four are great. They were formed in 2009. I guess a music producer had approached Yuka Funakoshi about forming a different type of band. She'd been involved in some J-pop type of stuff. So her and three session musicians went out and recorded an album. And ever since, it's just been getting better and better for them. Takashi Miyazawa on guitar, Shuni Taguchi on bass, and Iko Tanaka on drums. What an incredible band. They're mostly instrumental. There's a little bit of vocals. The great Sonia Christina actually sings on one song on their last album, but they're just a great, great band that if you don't know, you definitely need to check out. At number 14, a band probably everybody's familiar with. One of the more known acts on this list, it's Renaissance. They clock in at number 14 because honestly, yeah, people know about them, but they should be considered one of the greats. They should be considered up there with the Yeses and the Genesises of the world, but they clearly are not. Yeah, their first in the first formation of Renaissance was basically just a couple of people from the Yardbirds, so they had a whole different sound. By their third album, the lineup had consolidated to include the great Annie Haslam on vocals, John Trout, John Camp, Michael Dunford, and Terry Sullivan on drums. And some of those records they knocked out in the 70s, just incredible. Novella, the songs of the Scheherazade, Turn of a Card, Ashes Are Burning, just terrific stuff. I love Renaissance. They should be top 10 in anybody's list of the great prog bands of all time, and sadly they are not. Therefore, they're on this list. At number 13, we're talking about Jade Warrior, one of the weirdest prog bands ever. These guys took a lot of influences from African music and from Eastern European music and from East Asia, and they just throw it all in this weird stew. John Field and Tony Duhigg were the two main guys. They put out 3 really great records on Vertigo, and then Island Records picked them up, and they put out 4 fantastic records on Island. Those are the 7 you really need to pay attention to. And if I had to pick one, I would probably go with Floating World, which I think was the second of the 4 Island records, but just really, really cool, really chill, really relaxed. There's nothing else I've ever heard that sounds like Jade Warrior, and I love it. At number 12, we're going to Hungary with Solaris. Oh, yeah. The Martian Chronicles from 1980. I don't know a whole lot of bands from Hungary. You know, you got Omega and you got Solaris, but these guys are incredible. That Martian Chronicles album is terrific. They did a part 2 in 2014, which is great. They did an album a couple years ago called Nostradamus, which is really, really great. I guess there's a part 3 to the Martian Chronicles also, which I have not heard yet. But yeah, just based on the strength of the Martian Chronicles alone, these guys deserve to be right up there with the upper tier of prog bands. Just incredible. I love it. At number 11, a band from the UK, but they were actually formed in Hamburg, Germany. Obviously, we're talking about Nektar. These guys obviously are from the UK, but you know, their sound was more indebted to the things going on in West Germany at that time, and they knocked out a really cool debut album, Journey to the Center of the Eye, which was great. But they really found their footing on their second album, Tab in the Ocean, and then they did records like Remember the Future and Recycled, which were just incredible. That early lineup of Nektar, man, with the late, great Roy Albrighton on guitar and vocals, Alan Freeman on keyboards, Derek Moore on bass, Ron Howden on drums. And then they had 2 guys messing with the lights and sound engineering and all the weird stuff on stage. Mick Brockett and Keith Walters were guys that didn't even play instruments, but they were members of the band. And I guess their early stage shows were just so cool with all the visuals and stuff, way ahead of their time. I love Nektar. At number 10, we're going to Pennsylvania, and one of the very few American prog bands in the last 20 or 30 years to actually get signed to a major label. We're talking about echolyn. They've got 10 albums out, and I like all 10 of them. I really, really do. Suffocating the Bloom, As the World, May, just so many great, great albums. The band is led by Brett Kull and Ray Weston, two really, really incredibly talented guys, both of whom sing, and they have totally different timbres to their voice. So it's just really great listening to echolyn. Yeah, there's a little bit of Americana mixed in with the Gentle Giant. It's just great stuff. If you don't know echolyn, check them out. Just pick an album at random, buy them, and enjoy. At number 9, another band that's kind of a big name, especially in the Italian prog world, but PFM and Banco del Motoro Socoso probably got a little more attention than the third member of it. The Italian prog's big 3, and that is Le Orme. They don't get nearly enough love for that sizable discography that they have and so much great music that they produced over the years, particularly those early records where you've got Aldo Tagliapietra on bass and vocals, Tony Pagliuca on keyboards, and Michi De Rossi on drums, who's still in the band. Albums like Serone, Falona, Contrapunti, Collage. What an incredible band. I think Banco's probably my favorite Italian band, but if you put a gun to my head, I very likely might utter Le Orme as my final words on my deathbed at number 8. Going to Sweden and Kaipa. This is a band that's had 2 very distinct incarnations. In the 70s, it was Hans Luden and Roine Stolt, and they put out 3 phenomenal records in the 70s. In the 80s, they put out a couple of crappy records and called it quits, and then they came back with Notes from the Past with Roine Stolt back in the band and Hans Luden, but Roine only lasted a couple records. Morgan Agron was the drummer. He's gone now that we've got a new drummer and a Darby Todd. But the lineup now is Hans Luden on keyboards, Patrick Lundstrom and Alina Gibson on vocals. Alina's one of my favorite female vocals, and Patrick sounds just like Freddie Mercury. What else do you want, man? Jonas Reingold on bass, Darby Todd on drums, and a great Per Nilsson on guitars. Wow, I just love that guy's guitar playing. Kaipa's amazing. Check him out if you don't know him. At number 7, we're going back to America with Happy the Man. A band that does get a little bit of attention, but honestly, I think they need more, just solely based on the strength of those incredible first 2 albums on Arista, the debut coming out in 77, Crafty Hands coming out in 78. Just incredible. The lineups were the same for those 2 albums, except the first one had Mike Beck on drums, the second one had Ron Riddle, and the rest of the cast of characters, you had Rick Kennel on bass, Stanley Whitaker on guitar, Frank Wyatt on keyboards and sax, and the great Kit Watkins on keyboards. I love Kit Watkins. I love Happy the Man. At number 6, go back to the Nordic regions of Scandinavia and Anekdoten. Yeah, I could have put Anglagard on this list, but I think most prog people hold Anglagard in such an esteemed position as kind of the first forerunners of that third wave of prog that I don't think they need to be on here, but Anekdoten absolutely does. They put out 6 albums and they've had the exact same lineup for all 6. How many prog bands can say that? Nicholas Barker, Jan Erik Liljestrom, Anna Sophie Dahlberg, Peter Nordens, and Marty Wilson Piper. What a great, great band. All 6 of their albums are really cool. If you like dark, King Crimson influence prog with a lot of Mellotron, you can't go wrong with Anekdoten. You just can't. Now we're into the top 5, the 5 most underrated prog bands in history, and I'm going with Camel at number 5. Yes, I am. Now, if I were based in the UK, there's a strong probability that they would not be on the list of underrated. They got a lot more attention in the UK than they did in the US. In fact, as a kid growing up, the only thing I knew about Camel was that was the band with the cigarette, the cigarette pack on the album cover. That's all I knew about them. It certainly did get my attention, but they are so good, especially those first 4 albums, man. The debut, Mirage, Snow Goose, Moon Madness. What a great way to start a career. Andrew Latimer, Peter Bardens, Doug Ferguson, Andy Ward. Just incredible. All 4 of those guys sang on Mirage. And, it's just, oh, man, I love Camel so much. I really do. We are going to be doing a ranking the Camel albums here very, very soon. At number 4, we've got a modern act. I'm going with Nemo / JPL. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Nemo put out 9 fantastic albums in the French language, and now JPL is going solo, but he's using a lot of the same personnel that he was using on the Nemo records. So I'm kind of including them in the same thing, Nemo / JPL. Oh, man, the last 3 JPL albums have been part of the Sapiens trilogy. All 3 of them are incredible. Yeah, you know how much I love Nemo. You guys know how much I love JPL. If you guys don't mind singing in a different language besides English, I implore you to check out Nemo, to check out JPL's Sapiens trilogy. Oh, you will not be sorry. If you like your prog to be guitar heavy, but not anywhere as close to prog metal, JPL just might be your guy. At number 3, yeah, we could probably guess who the top 3 are here. And it just is a question of what the order is going to be. I got number 3. I got Graaf Generator. And it's another one of those situations where growing up in the US, we didn't hear anything about this band. But I bet if I had grown up in the UK or in Italy, I probably would have. I kept hearing stories about this band and this song, Plague of the Lighthouse Keepers, and Robert Fripp was a guest, and I've been hearing all this stuff for years and years. I never even heard a single song from Graaf Generator until probably 1990 what what a mistake that was. But yeah, they are clearly one of the greatest bands in the history of prog, but no one puts them up there with Yes and Genesis, and they absolutely should be. If you include Peter Hamill's solo material and the Vandergraaf stuff, and you look at the reunion stuff they've done, you know, without David Jackson, the last 3 or 4 Vandergraaf albums in this century have been really, really good, including Do Not Disturb, their last one. What an amazing band. Another band I'll be doing a ranking of real soon. At number 2, it's Gentle Giant. Yeah, there's a band everybody knows, and they are adored within the prog rock community, but nobody puts them in that upper tier. Nobody considers them part of any big six or anything like that. They should be. They've earned the right. They are one of the greatest bands in the history of our beloved genre. They deserve all the accolades they have coming to them. I just love Gentle Giant so much. You guys know that. They are so underrated. It's not even funny. It's just not. It's not. But there can only be one most underrated prog rock band in the history of prog rock. And I've got Soft Machine, ladies and gentlemen. Just look at the names. Look at the names. Look at the people who have traversed through the ranks of Soft Machine over the years. Mike Ratledge, Robert Wyatt, Kevin Ayers, David Allen, Andy Summers, Alan Holdsworth, Hugh Hopper, Elton Dean, Roy Babington. They're still going strong. They're still touring. There's rumors there'll be a new Soft Machine record out soon. They just dropped one not too long ago, a couple years ago. The new lineup is Theo Travis, John Etheridge, Fred Baker, and John Marshall. They're still getting it done. Soft Machine is one of those bands that, you know, being raised in the UK, you really probably heard a whole lot about them, but I was not raised in the UK. I heard absolutely nothing about Soft Machine until maybe the 80s when I started, really diving into Alan Holdsworth's career. And then I started seeing, what the heck, Soft Machine. And then I started seeing other names that I knew. I'm like, I need to investigate these people. But they are clearly one of the seminal bands in the history of prog, formed in 1966 from the ashes of the Wildflowers. And, their history is storied. Their second album was amazing. Third is considered to be one of the greatest records of all time. Bundles is just incredible with Alan Holdsworth. What a great band that gets absolutely no respect. No love whatsoever, particularly here in the US. That's why I've got Soft Machine as my number 1 most underrated prog rock bands of all time. Anyway, I love you guys. It's a rainy day here in Ohio, so I just wanted to have a little bit of fun and talk about some bands that don't get enough love. And I'll be doing some more album reviews later on this week and whatever else I can think of. We've got 14 more days until we're out of Apple jail, so let's hope that things go smoothly and I'll be able to get my phone back so we can start doing the full complement of, content here on the Prog Corner. Anyway, I love you guys. Have a great day. Peace in the Middle East. God save the king.